Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be that guy posting his story online, but here we are. I'm Mike, a 38-year-old software engineer who spent years debugging code for a tech firm in Chicago, where the relentless wind off Lake Michigan mirrors the unpredictable turns in my life with Amanda, my 36-year-old wife and a talented graphic designer. After 6 years of marriage that started with promise but lately felt like a program riddled with unseen errors, no children to complicate things yet, just the two of us navigating what I thought was a stable routine. That fragile balance cracked one humid summer night when Amanda stumbled through our apartment door later than promised. Her blouse rumpled and hair tousled in a way that didn't match her story of a simple team dinner. Her evasive eyes darting away from mine as she mumbled about traffic, igniting a spark of insecurity that burned through my chest like a system overload. This initial disruption captures the psychological onset of suspicion, where trust begins to erode through nonverbal cues like Amanda's rumpled appearance and evasive eyes, symbolizing a breach in relational security. The first warning sign was already here, in her mismatched story and physical dishevelment, which Mike rationalizes as work stress, embodying denial as a defense mechanism to avoid emotional pain. Emotionally, this ignites insecurity, a common response in attachments threatened by perceived betrayal, heightening interpersonal tension from poor communication and unmet needs. Consequences include internal conflict, as Mike's rigidity prevents vulnerability expression, pushing Amanda toward external validation. Many people choose to remain silent at this point, and in vain, perpetuating denial that delays addressing underlying distance. Themes of trust fragility emerge, with Mike's system overload metaphor reflecting his logical mindset clashing with emotional chaos. Personal growth potential lies in recognizing blind spots, but unchecked, it fosters resentment. Did he really not see the signs, or did he choose to ignore them? Was she looking for love or for validation? Is this physical cheating or emotional betrayal? The fluorescent hum of my office lights had faded into the evening haze as I commuted home on the L train, the metallic rattle and faint scent of rain-soaked commuters filling the car, my laptop bag heavy against my thigh with unfinished code reviews that I'd tackle after dinner. Our apartment in Wicker Park greeted me with its familiar warmth, the aroma of leftover stir-fry lingering from last night's meal reheated in the microwave whose door always stuck slightly, a minor annoyance I'd meant to fix but never did, much like the small drifts in our conversations lately. I kicked off my shoes by the entryway mat, its frayed edges a testament to years of comings and goings, and poured myself a glass of water from the filtered pitcher on the counter, the cool liquid soothing my throat parched from a day of virtual meetings where voices echoed through headphones like distant echoes. Amanda had texted earlier about a work gathering, a casual after-hours thing with her design team, she said, to brainstorm a new client project over drinks at a nearby bar, her message punctuated with a heart emoji that felt routine rather than affectionate. When she finally arrived, the clock on the wall ticking past midnight, her steps were unsteady on the hardwood floors we'd sanded together during our first year here, her purse slung carelessly over her shoulder, lipstick smudged just enough to notice under the soft glow of the pendant light above the kitchen island. She leaned in for a kiss, her breath carrying a mix of wine and something sharper, perhaps gin. Her hands cold against my arms as if she'd been outside longer than expected, and when I asked about the evening, her response came with a forced laugh. "Oh, just the usual chaos. You know how these things go." Her eyes flickering to her phone which buzzed softly in her bag, silenced but insistent. Internally, a knot formed in my stomach, twisting like tangled wires in a circuit board. I'd always prided myself on logic, on seeing patterns in data, but here I rationalized her disheveled appearance as exhaustion from a long week, her job demanding creativity under tight deadlines that often left her drained. Yet, as she headed to the bathroom, the door clicking shut with a soft finality, I glanced at my own reflection in the darkened window, the sea lights blurring beyond, and wondered if my own emotional rigidity, my habit of burying vulnerabilities under work, had contributed to the growing distance, those nights where we'd sit on the couch, the leather creaking under our weight, scrolling separately on our devices instead of talking. A flashback hit, our wedding in a small lakeside venue, her smile radiant under the summer sun, promises exchanged with hands intertwined, now contrasting sharply with this unease. But I pushed down, attributing her evasion to stress, though a subtle hint lingered, the way she clutched her phone tighter than usual, its screen lighting up again with a notification she ignored, leaving me in the quiet kitchen, the refrigerator's low hum amplifying my doubts. Was it really just work or something more that would unravel everything? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds in slanted beams, dust motes dancing in the air scented with fresh coffee from the brewer I'd programmed automatically, a ritual that grounded our days. Amanda emerged from the bedroom, her robe tied loosely, hair still mussed, and poured herself a mug, her movements fluid but her smile not quite reaching her eyes, which held a shadow I couldn't place. We exchanged goodbyes with a peck on the cheek, her perfume, a light citrus blend, wafting stronger than usual, as if reapplied hastily, and as the door shut behind her, I felt a lingering tension, like an unresolved bug in my code, whispering that the normalcy I clung to might be fracturing in ways I wasn't ready to debug. Weeks slipped by in a rhythm disrupted by subtle shifts, the Chicago autumn bringing crisp air that carried the scent of fallen leaves through our open windows, where curtains billowed gently, but inside, the atmosphere thickened with unspoken questions. At work, I'd stare at my dual monitors, lines of code blurring as my mind replayed Amanda's late nights, her explanations growing vaguer, like client revisions ran long. Delivered with a shrug and averted gaze while she stirred soup on the stove, the steam rising in curls that obscured her expression momentarily. Her phone, once left charging on the nightstand with its cord tangled like our early morning limbs, now accompanied her everywhere, even to the bathroom, its vibrations muffled but audible, prompting her to check it with furtive glances, fingers trembling slightly as she typed responses she shielded from view. One evening, as we shared takeout Thai from cardboard containers on the coffee table, the spicy aroma of pad CW filling the room, I noticed a new necklace, a delicate silver chain with a small pendant, glinting under the lamp's warm light, something she hadn't worn before. When I complimented it, her hand flew to her throat, a micro-movement of surprise, before she smiled too brightly. "Oh, this?" Jessica gave it to me as an early birthday gift. Her voice steady but her fork pausing midair, a droplet of sauce dripping back onto the plate with a soft plop. Internally, hope flickered. She and Jessica, her best friends since college, often exchanged trinkets. Worry gnawed as I recalled Jessica's recent visit. No mention of a gift, and Amanda's increasing mentions of Eric, a coworker on her team. His name slipping into conversations with a casualness that felt forced. Frustration built during a weekend brunch with friends at a bustling cafe, the clatter of plates and espresso machines providing cover for my observations. Amanda laughed at a joke from across the table, her hand brushing Eric's arm, who'd unexpectedly joined via her invitation. Lingering a second too long, her cheeks flushing in the sunlight filtering through the windows. Back home, the car ride silent except for the hum of the engine and rain pattering on the windshield. She dismissed my question about him as just team camaraderie. Her fingers tapping the dashboard in anxious rhythm, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Anger stirred, a low simmer in my chest, as I lay awake that night, the bedsheets cool against my skin while she slept soundly, her breaths even, mine ragged with growing distrust, heart racing like a processor overheating. Was it paranoia from my own insecurities, my difficulty in expressing how the emotional distance hurt, or real signs of betrayal? The suspicion escalated when I glimpsed an Instagram story from a mutual friend. Amanda tagged in a photo at a bar, standing close to Eric, their smiles intimate. Deleted by morning, leaving me with a screenshot in my mind, a cliff of doubt hanging over our marriage. The accumulation of small evidences here illustrates the transition from subtle doubt to active suspicion, where recurring motifs like the phone secrecy and new necklace trigger cognitive dissonance in Mike. A typical mistake is to think that this is just a phase, as he clings to hope during tender moments, rationalizing Amanda's behavior amid their emotional drift. Psychologically, this fosters anxiety, with physiological responses like racing heart underscoring fight or flight activation from perceived threats to attachment. Interpersonally, Amanda's defensive personality and impulsive seeks for attention highlight secret motives, while Mike's controlling tendencies exacerbate the disconnect. Consequences of betrayal begin manifesting as eroded intimacy, with red herrings like the necklace gift misattribution prolonging uncertainty. Emotional highs and lows, hope to frustration, emphasize the toll on mental health, potentially leading to resentment if unaddressed. Personal growth emerges through self-reflection on vulnerabilities, transforming denial into awareness. At what moment could everything still be stopped? Did his behavior push her toward this decision? Is she a victim of circumstances or the author of the disaster? Emotional highs crashed into lows. A tender moment the next day, her head on my shoulder during a movie, the popcorn's buttery scent comforting, reignited hope, only for suspicion to return with a late-night call she took in the other room. Her whispers indistinct but laced with laughter that felt exclusive. I tried believing it was nothing, contrasting her defensive impulses with my controlling tendencies. But the heartbeat of anxiety pulsed stronger, a sense of impending betrayal looming like storm clouds over the lake. The chill of early winter seeped into our apartment, frost etching patterns on the windows that I traced absently with a finger, the cold glass mirroring the numbness spreading through me as suspicions solidified into action. Mornings became rituals of observation. Amanda in the kitchen, her back to me as she scrolled her phone over coffee, the steam curling upward, her posture tensing when I approached, quickly locking the screen with a thumb swipe that left a faint smudge. Moral dilemmas plagued me. Was checking her messages a violation, or justified given the distance? My own blind spot in not addressing our unmet needs sooner? I started small, noting her longer showers, water running with the door locked, emerging with damp hair and a distracted air, excuses flowing like, forgot my charger at work. One afternoon, working from home amid the soft whir of my laptop fan and the distant honk of city traffic, I called Jessica, her voice crackling over the line from her art studio, paint fumes almost imaginable through the phone. "Hey, Mike, everything okay?" she asked, hesitation in her tone when I casually mentioned the necklace. A pause, then, "I didn't give her that. Maybe from someone else?" Her words hung like a red herring, sparking a setback as I wondered if it was innocent. But victory came when she added, "She's been stressed, talking a lot about Eric, but I'm sure it's nothing." Heart pounding, I ended the call, the room's tense silence broken only by a notification on my own phone. Irrelevant, but triggering memories of Amanda's secrecy. That night, as she slept, her form outlined under the comforter that smelled faintly of her lavender lotion. I reached for her phone on the nightstand, its dim screen glowing blue in the darkness. Unlocked with our anniversary date I'd guessed correctly. Messages with Eric flooded in. Flirtatious banter. Plans for quick drinks. Emojis that twisted my gut, but a setback. No explicit proof, just innuendo. Pain surged, mixed with determination. My breath shallow as I scrolled, fingers cold on the glass, until a photo attachment. A selfie of them at the bar, her lips close to his cheek, confirmed the intimacy. This investigative phase marks a moral dilemma, where Mike snooping on Amanda's phone represents a shift from passive denial to proactive truth-seeking, invading privacy to reclaim agency amid powerlessness. Emotionally, mixed reactions. Pain from intimate messages, determination to confront, reflect grief's early stages, with sensory details like cold fingers amplifying tension. Interpersonally, Jessica's revelation introduces a surprise alliance, exposing Amanda's confessions and Eric's pursuit, adding layered suspense through dramatic irony. Red herrings, like innuendo without explicit proof, create setbacks, heightening psychological tension from gaslighting fears. Consequences include trust's further fracture, as uncovered deceptions dismantle illusions, forcing ethical choices that build resilience. Personal growth accelerates, teaching boundaries and self-awareness, though guilt from invasion lingers. Many overlook such clues, prolonging agony, but this catalyzes empowerment. Did she lie to him or to herself? Is telling the truth now honesty or cruelty? What would you do right now if you were there? Amanda stirred, mumbling in sleep, and I set it down, hands trembling, the room spinning with anger and disappointment. She noticed my distance the next morning, her questions mild over breakfast toast crunching under bites. "You seem off, Mike." Her eyes searching mine with a defensive glint, excuses ready on her lips. I nodded vaguely, but internally the storm brewed, trust fracturing further during an accidental encounter at a coffee shop near her office. Eric there, alone, our eyes meeting across the room, his nod tense, coffee cup gripped tightly as he avoided conversation. The exchange fueled my resolve, but as I walked away, the bitter espresso aftertaste lingering, a mysterious text from an unknown number arrived. Check her last messages. Pulse racing in the cold air, uncertainty propelled me forward. What more would I find? The evening built to a storm, literal rain lashing the windows and sheets that distorted the streetlights below. The apartment lit by flickering candles on the dining table where I'd set out wine glasses, their stems catching the flames dance. As I waited for Amanda to return from another late meeting, my hands clenched the evidence printouts, screenshots of texts with Eric, admissions of stolen kisses during work outings, Jessica's confirmation via a reluctant call earlier that day, her voice breaking as she revealed Amanda's confessions to her about seeking validation amid our emotional drift. When the door creaked open, water dripping from her umbrella onto the doormat, her face pale under the hallway light, she froze at my expression, body language shifting from fatigue to wariness, shoulders hunching as she hung her coat with deliberate slowness. "Mike, what's wrong?" she asked, voice tentative, crossing the room with steps that echoed on the floorboards, her eyes darting to the papers in my lap. I stood, the chair scraping back with a harsh sound, extending the sheets toward her, my voice controlled but laced with hurt. "These, with Eric. How long have you been lying?" Silence enveloped us, broken by a thunderclap outside, her face crumpling as tears welled, hands trembling as she took the pages, scanning them with widening eyes, a quiet sigh escaping her lips before she sank into the couch, the cushions sighing under her weight. It was just a kiss once or twice," she whispered, pauses heavy with remorse, her fingers twisting the necklace, now revealed as his gift. In a gesture of anxiety, gaslighting creeping in. "You're making it bigger than it is. We've been distant," I felt neglected. Anger flared in me, hot and sharp. Neglected? And lying fixes that. My internal struggle raged. Rage battling composure, flashbacks to our happier times intensifying the shock. Then the twist. Her phone buzzed on the table, Eric's name flashing, a message popping up. "Miss you already? When can we meet again?" She gasped, reaching for it. But I snatched it first, the screen's glow illuminating her panic-stricken face, lips parting in fear. "It's over," she stammered, tears streaming, manipulation giving way to raw emotion as she admitted. I was impulsive, seeking attention.
"I'm sorry."
The confrontation swung wildly, my disappointment peaking, her despair evident, resolve settling as I realized I controlled my response, not her actions. Jessica called then, her voice on speaker shattering illusions further. "Amanda told me everything. Eric's been pursuing her, but she crossed lines." Emotional catharsis hit, rage ebbing to disappointment, the room's air thick with rain's earthy scent and candle wax, light falling on our faces in stark contrasts. Her trembling, me composed yet vulnerable. The confrontation climax embodies emotional catharsis, where undeniable proof shatters denial, leading to power shifts as Mike maintains composure against Amanda's panic and remorse. Psychologically, swings from anger to resolve mimic betrayal trauma, intensified by sensory immersion like rain and candlelight, symbolizing stormy revelations. Interpersonally, Amanda's excuses and gaslighting reveal manipulative impulses, while the message twist exposes ongoing deception, heightening stakes with Jessica's shattering input. Consequences of betrayal surface in raw dialogue pauses, underscoring ambiguous morality. Her actions understandable from neglect's perspective yet inexcusable. Husband's growth in recognizing control over his actions fosters empowerment, moving from rigidity to vulnerability. Emotional relatability lies in shared hurt, prompting reflection on lies' pain. What hurts more, the betrayal or the lies? Would you forgive in his place? Can her actions be justified in this situation? Who is more responsible for what happened? Is this marriage already over, or can it still be saved? Can love survive something like this? After exhaustion washed over me, a strange clarity amid the chaos. Understanding my own rigidity had played a part, but her choices were hers, leaving us in shattered silence as I stepped back, needing space. The days following blurred into a tense limbo, the apartment feeling both too small and cavernous, echoes of our argument lingering in the quiet corners where sunlight now filtered weakly through drawn blinds, casting long shadows that symbolized the rift between us. Amanda's reactions oscillated, defensive outbursts giving way to tearful remorse, her body language slumped during meals we barely shared, forks clinking against plates in strained silence, while I grappled with inner conflicts. The moral dilemma of forgiveness versus self-preservation, my heart calming in solitary walks along the lakefront, wind whipping my face, muscles relaxing as waves crashed with rhythmic force. Family stakes heightened when my sister called, her concern a surprise alliance that bolstered me, advising space without destruction, contrasting Amanda's impulsive pleas sent via text, each one a setback that tested my resolve. Legal whispers crossed my mind. No children eased that, but financial ties, our shared lease and accounts, loomed as potential consequences. A small victory in consulting a therapist alone. Clarity emerging in sessions scented with herbal tea, where I reflected on past blindness to our disconnect. Emotional withdrawal became my shield. I left for a weekend at a friend's cabin, the door closing behind me with a symbolic thud, fresh air filling my lungs as I drove, lightness returning to my body amid pine-scented trails. In this decision-making aftermath, consequences unfold through practical and emotional disentanglements, where Mike's inner conflicts, forgiveness versus self-preservation, highlight moral dilemmas amid family support and therapy. Psychologically, physical sensations like calming heart signal recovery from trauma, symbolizing relief amid lingering hurt. Interpersonally, Amanda's willingness for boundaries tests trust's rebuild, with small victories like deleting contacts countering setbacks in fragility. Themes of personal growth dominate, as reflection on mutual faults. His rigidity, her impulsivity, fosters wisdom, transforming betrayal into resilience. Emotional highs emerge in cautious hope, emphasizing ambiguous morality in reconciliation. Many remain silent, fearing change, but Mike's choice underscores autonomy's value. Would you fight for this relationship? Is staying together ever the right choice? Who will regret their decision more in the end? When does a mistake become betrayal? Is trust even possible after this? Would you want to know the truth? Amanda's messages piled up. Promises to cut Eric off, attend counseling, powerful in their minimalism, emphasizing her willingness, but I responded sparingly, relief mixing with lingering hurt. Upon return, the decision crystallized in the quiet kitchen, sunrise painting the counters gold, my voice steady. We need boundaries or this ends. She nodded, eyes downcast, a powerful silence underscoring her agreement. Small victories like her deleting his contact, setbacks in my trust's fragility, maintained tension, but confidence grew, hints of resolution in booking joint therapy, reflecting on futures where I refused to be destroyed, heart steadying as I embraced vulnerability I'd long suppressed. Months unfolded with cautious steps toward rebuilding, therapy sessions in a softly lit office where the air hummed with quiet revelations, boundaries established like code firewalls, empowering me to voice insecurities without control. Divorce hovered as a shadow but receded as we forged independence within unity. Amanda pursuing solo hobbies like painting classes, her canvases now filling a corner with vibrant colors, while I dove into coding side projects and runs along the lakeshore, morning light glinting off the water, simple joys in coffee steam and music from my headphones grounding my growth. Freedom bloomed without manipulations. I made new friends at a tech meetup, laughter echoing in bars where trust felt earned, inner strength replacing rigidity. Reflection brought lessons. Betrayal's pain sharpened awareness of emotional needs. Understanding Amanda's impulses stemmed from our drift, her remorse genuine amid ambiguous morality. Her actions hurtful yet rooted in unmet validation, mine in unexpressed vulnerability. Personal growth emerged, wisdom tempering bitterness, a sense of closure in cathartic talks where forgiveness flickered, strength in recognizing resilience. The resolution phase depicts fragile rebuilding, where conditional reconciliation embodies post-betrayal growth, with boundaries and therapy promoting independence within unity. Psychologically, closure brings catharsis, replacing bitterness with wisdom on emotional needs, as sensory joys symbolize renewal. Emotionally, cautious hope signals healing, with reflections on betrayal's lessons enhancing self-awareness. Interpersonally, Eric's removal affirms power shifts, while ambiguous morality in Amanda's remorse invites debate on validation versus love. Personal growth shines in Mike's new habits, turning vulnerabilities into strengths. Themes of trust's damage but emerging forgiveness highlight resilience's nonlinearity. A typical mistake is rushing recovery, but slow rebuilding offers hope. Is this marriage already over, or can it still be saved? Can love survive something like this? Would you fight for this relationship? Who is more responsible for what happened? Is trust even possible after this? I don't know what the future holds, I said finally. But if we're going to try to rebuild this, it's going to take time, a lot of time. She nodded, tears filling her eyes. I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As for Eric, true to his word, or maybe just out of fear, he stayed away. I never heard from him again, and Amanda later told me he'd been transferred to another office. Whether it was voluntary or forced, I didn't care. He was out of our lives, and that was all that mattered. In the end, Amanda and I didn't go back to the way things were. We couldn't. But we started building something new, brick by brick, day by day. Whether it would last, only time would tell. But for now, it was enough. Throughout the narrative, key events chart a psychological journey from trust's erosion to cautious renewal, emphasizing denial's dangers and betrayal's multifaceted consequences. Initial suspicions reveal blind spots in communication, fostering emotional distance that spirals into infidelity. Investigative and confrontational phases expose moral ambiguities, with power dynamics shifting toward empowerment. Decision and resolution underscore personal growth through boundaries and reflection, transforming pain into wisdom. Interpersonally, characters' motives, validation-seeking versus rigidity, highlight relational stakes, while themes of forgiveness debate who is right or wrong. Ultimately, the story illustrates betrayal's duality, destructive yet catalytic for resilience, offering hope in rebuilding, though fragile. Can love survive something like this? Is trust even possible after this? Would you forgive in his place?